Welcome to the Warband, a World of Warcraft podcast. My name is Swaglock. I'm one of your hosts, and with me today is our other host, Chicken. Dude, Chicken, how are you doing, man?
Go Birds!
Go Birds, bro.
Sorry.
Go Birds. Dude, that was a good game, though. I mean, it's not the sports podcast, and I don't think I know sports well enough. I'll admit, Chicken, I am that guy who, like, I don't even watch the game. I'll just play WoW or something. I'll just play WoW or something and have the like score up on another screen. Just I don't know.
Yeah.
I like to root for my team. I just don't care to watch.
That's such a Philly thing too. Like, it just real quick. I feel like my goal now for this podcast is to make a sports reference every single episode until like we stop making this podcast. Because you made one last week and low key, it was kind of sus, and now I'm like, okay, maybe I just need to make a sports reference every podcast.
That's the only sports reference I could make. You got the one.
Exactly.
You got the one I know out of me.
And now it's up to me to make sports references. But it's such a Philly thing of like, dude, if the Eagles would have lost, like you go into work tomorrow and people act like their mother just died, and it's like, okay, guys, come on, like we're not acting like, you know.
Yeah,
like
dude, that's our team. That's our team, dude. They represent us.
Yeah, I know, but
they represent
like
us,
imagine how you would act if they nerfed blood decay. Then you would be like,
no, it's different.
dead inside.
That's different. Dude, listen, man. I would be dead inside if they nerfed blood decay. But also, in my defense, I couldn't walk into work tomorrow and be like, dude, they nerfed blood decay, right? Like nobody would get it, right?
Fair.
My boss would look at me and be like, what? What the heck are you talking about, right? You know, sports are a little bit different because usually you can just go to anybody, right, and be like, "Oh, yeah, did you see the game?" You know, I wish I was that way. I mean, don't get me wrong, dude. If I'm hopping into Discord VC, right? I'm hopping into Discord VC with like guildmates. Heck yeah, I'd pop in and be like, "Guys, what the heck are they doing with blood decay?"
And everyone's like, "Oh, I don't know."
Yeah, something like that, like steroided out. Yeah, dude. I will say that while we're on the topic right now, man. I think if we have any listeners right now who are listening to the podcast and you're like, man, I'm a solo player in WoW. I don't really want to communicate with people. I just want to do my own thing. Even if you do solo content, man, find a community. I was just like hanging out in VC with like guildmates and some of our swag community members this week, just doing different things, helping coach people through keys. Dude, Chicken, bro, like I don't know, man, this game would not be the same without like the community.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
I don't know, man. I'm pretty strong on that. Like, I don't know. If you don't have a good community, WoW, I think you're missing out. And by the way, I think there's a lot of people who they hear me say that, and their initial response is almost to try and like argue me on it or be upset with me because maybe I don't understand, you know, how toxic of an experience you've had or how hurtful the WoW community is for you, which is fair, right? You're dealing with humans. You're going to encounter that, especially in a game that can be competitive. But I would say like finding a good, healthy community in like a guild or whatever, right? Like even just a Discord server related to WoW of people who enjoy the game. If you can find like a healthy space, like, oh my gosh, it changes things. It changes things, right? And you know, you're always welcome to hang out on our Discord and talk about WoW and whatnot. But it's, I don't know, man. This is one of those games where like, I mean, most games are better with people. But like, I'll log into Fortnite. And I'll just play that, or I got tons of other games. I'll just like open up and play by myself. But WoW, dude, like, WoW there's something magic with WoW and the people that play it.
I mean, I agree. Sorry, with the one statement. Sorry, I literally just sneezed. I had to mute. Yeah, sorry. I apologize, everyone. I'm a little bit under the weather. But I agree. I mean, most games are a lot better when you play them with other people. Yeah. If you want me to be honest, I think a lot of it also depends on the kind of content you play in WoW. If you just like do delves and do quests, like, yeah, like, I mean, that's one of those moments where it's literally just like, oh, it's just great to have friends, right? It's just great to have people to talk to and great to have people to hang out with. Now, if you do like Mythic Plus and Radiant, then like I think that's a different level of like, oh, like you have people that you can, genuinely go in and have a good time with, as well as do the content with, like, and talk to, and not just be like, oh, you're some random person maybe on the other side of the country that's screwing up this mechanic and now I'm mad at you, versus, oh, hey, one of my friends screwed it up. It's not the first time, right?
Yeah, well, I think normally I would make that same argument, but lately I've just been observing and talking to and listening to players who would call themselves solo players, right? Would be like, no, I just want to go do my delves. I want to go farm, Ice Crown Citadel every day until I get on my 30 alts. I want to farm Ice Crown Citadel until I get the invincible mount or something like that. But as I've been talking to these people, I've been listening to people's stories and trying to just get a gauge of why do people fall in love with World of Warcraft? Like, what is it about the game that like makes people come back, right? Is it the way the game's designed that you're kind of just addicted to the power scaling and you can't stop? But what I have found is everybody's best memories in WoW revolve around people. It's not it almost has nothing to do with the content itself. Now, I think there are moments where the content does take center stage, right? You look at like Wrath of the Lich King, which you weren't around for, Chicken, but let me tell you how hype it was.
I know a little bit.
We had Warcraft 1, Warcraft 2, Warcraft 3, which ends with the Frozen Throne. Arthas becomes the Lich King. The villain wins, and then it's over, right? It's almost like Infinity War, right? Like, it just ends, and you're like, wait, what? Did we lose? We lost? What? And so you have this crazy villain setup, and then shortly after, World of Warcraft comes out. And there's undead, there's references to the Lich King, there's liches, but there's no actual Lich King present. You don't fight him, you don't see him. And everybody was thinking, okay, World of Warcraft's going to come out, and that's going to continue the story. We're going to go kill the Lich King. We're going to follow up on this. Nothing. Nada. Patches come out. More raids come out still. Nothing. They do get, eventually they get Naxxramas. But even still, Naxxramas, although it hints at the Lich King and it has, Death Knight stuff going on in it, it's not Northrend. There's no Lich King. And then the expansion's announced, and it's like, okay, now we're gonna kill the Lich King. Nope. Still no Lich King, right? We go to Outlands. Oh, Illidan's there. We'll fight Illidan. That's kind of cool. But no Lich King. And then all of a sudden they announce their second expansion, and it's Wrath of the Lich King. And you're like, whoa, we're gonna see him. We're gonna kill him. This is awesome. So there are moments, I think, where the content itself becomes center stage of like, I am so hyped to experience that story, to go into that land, to see it with my own eyes, to actually like be there and see what Northrend is like. That's pretty sick. That's pretty cool. And I do hear some stories like that from people, but the vast majority of the time that I hear stories of moments in time that people loved WoW, right? They're cherished memories, the things that they look back on with absolute nostalgia. And it's always guild related, friends related, community related in some way. I love the team that I was raiding Ice Crown with. I remember how hard we worked on that. Or like, dude, back in Legion, M+ was so fun, dude. The group I had, we were doing the craziest things, right? It always becomes like people related, and so that's been on my mind. That's been on my mind. I know it's not really the topic of the podcast today, but man, I just want to encourage people before we really dive into the meat of today's podcast. Find yourself like a community that you love being a part of. Don't be afraid to branch out. There are a lot of great like non-toxic communities in WoW. And if I was to plug one, if I was to say to check something out, Chicken and I hang out on our Discord all the time. The Swaglocks Warband Discord. I guess it says we, but this is like a holdover from like Discord stuff I've used forever. But come hang out with us. We love to just talk about WoW with you and chat and like share memories, post screenshots of the things that you're achieving. We have a community raid night coming up this Friday. So if you listen to the podcast the week it releases, this Friday we're going to be going into Heroic Raid. There's no expectations other than 605. I think it's a 605 eye level requirement. But outside of that, show up. We're gonna teach you. We're gonna walk through it. You're gonna have the opportunity to learn, so you don't have to be an expert. Just come on in. We'll have signups going up. They'll probably be up before the podcast goes live. So pop in, sign up for the raid, come join us. It'll be a fun time.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. Hopefully I can go. I might already have prior engagements. I can't remember.
It's all good. I'd also like to clarify, this whole segment wasn't just so I could promo our community raid night. I just genuinely have been thinking about, like, what is it that people love? And what really made me think about it is I was talking chicken with our guild officers, because we're just planning for season 2, right? Like, what does season 2 look like? What does raiding look like for us? What do our events look like? How are we going to make our events more successful than past seasons? And as I was talking, I just kept thinking about how important raiding and how important Mythic Plus is for bringing people into the guild and making a space people want to be part of. Because in my mind, I'm like, hey, people are only joining a guild for 2 reasons. 1, they want to find a raid team, or 2, they want to find people to do content, like M+ content with, right? Yeah. That's my brain, because that's what I look for. I look for those things. And I'm talking to our guild master, and she's like, no, Swag, the guild actually originally started with people that were just, like, farming stuff. Like, it was just people that just wanted to farm mounts and things, and that's kind of how we started hanging out. And then eventually we had enough people that were kind of interested in starting a raid, and so we dabbled with it, and then it kind of closed that down for a while, and then started again and tried with another raid team. And it kind of blew my mind. It's been on my mind since then of, like, dude, like, community. Wow. That's what I think makes... And the irony is the WoW... Let's be honest, too. The WoW community is also sometimes the absolute worst. Right, but the World of Warcraft, right? The players that inhabit it really do make it something special. They also make it the worst at times, but I think the good outweighs the bad massively. I think massively, right? Like I will put up. I don't know, dude. I will put up with a couple crappy people in a dungeon yelling at me because I didn't interrupt something. I'll put up with that if it means that I have a whole guild full of people that are like just excited to see me around and talk to me and share life with me. That's cool. That is so cool to me.
Yeah, I guess I could agree with you. Yeah, I think the bad will happen more often, but yeah, I'll give you that one. Yeah, I mean,
I'll take it.
As long as you're not sexist, like, come on, women play WoW. Let's just say it.
Dude, oh my gosh. Okay, so chat. I'm saying chat, but
dude,
listeners,
don't even.
I'm acting like I'm streaming. There we are. The other night, right?
Don't even.
I'm live streaming. We get into a group. A guildmate's with us, so it's me, Chicken, and a guildmate, and then we pug 2 extra people. And it's like, it kind of seems like they're women, which is fine. There's no problem with that. It's whatever. Yeah. And Chicken just goes, "Are you girls?" Okay, listen, that is like #1 red flag. That's like number one.
Really?
Like, the fact, yeah, dude. Like, I'm sure the moment you asked that question, their finger was on the like leave group button. They were probably about ready to go, dude. That's when it gets awkward, dude. Yeah, that's when it gets awkward. And then he follows it up with the classic "girls don't play WoW," and then blames it on me. I didn't say it. I didn't say it.
Yeah,
you said it. You said it. I've said it. Okay, let me clarify. No, yeah, I've said it to my friends who I play WoW with, who I know for sure are girls, right? Because it's funny. Because then they go, "Swag, you're an idiot," you know, right? Like it's just silly banter. You don't go into a random group and scare them away, dude. I will admit though, the group was a vibe. That was a fun group.
Yeah, they were nice.
Yeah, dude. And we had Fat Hall with us, and he's always goofing. I think if I remember correctly, the run itself was actually kind of rough, but the group was fun.
Yeah, it was, but
dude, those are sometimes the best, dude. That run that like you don't actually time it, but everybody's just vibing. So you're like, oh, whatever.
Runs are hit or miss. Let's be honest.
Yeah, but it was a good time, especially if you and I are running together. Then we're definitely not timing it.
Oh yeah, dude, you're like my curse. I don't know what it is. Either that, or I'm just bad at DPS. It's one of the two. So it's either you or it's me.
Yeah, it might be a little both. I tank on my dungeons. I've only healed a few like +2s and 4s, so I have no clue what other tanks are like in like the 10s range. So there's a good. There's a good shot. There's a good shot. It's me. I'm not super.
No, stop.
Okay, but before we move on, right? Let me tell you something. A little behind the curtain officer like of a guild kind of discussion here, and it made me think of it because of what we were talking about with the weirdness on stream.
The weirdness of me.
I don't even know why we're on this topic. I think we're just talking about the community nature of WoW and the interactions you have with people. But somebody joins the guild, right? And their immediate, like, not their first immediate question, they kind of say a few things, and then they go, "Are there any females in the guild?" Dude, you want to talk about red flags, bro? You want to talk about, like, immediately, like, somebody pings the message to me. I'm like sitting there. I get on my phone or something while I'm out, and I look at it. I'm like, oh, yep.
See, that's weird.
That is
like
weird,
a
right?
Discord message is like one thing. Like just WoW, just party chat is just like okay. And I obviously did it sarcastically. It was in all caps. They knew.
You know, I don't know. I have no clue. I never followed up. I never asked.
You never DM them and just been like, sorry for my friend.
Yeah, this was in game. No, I didn't. This was in game. Guild chat.
Sorry for my friend.
That this occurred. And I just remember like seeing me like, this is awkward. And then they kind of followed up with I just feel more comfortable playing with females. Which again, let me tell you something. 2 red flags here. One, asking if anybody's women, right? Because something's usually a little sus there. And the person who messaged it to me, like, honestly, they're the kindest person ever. And they're like, oh, they might just, they might be a girl themselves and feel comfortable playing with other girls. Yeah. And I was like, listen, only guys say female. Girls
seriously.
And so sure enough, I'm like looking at this the guy's profile, and you open it up and you see he put it there himself, right? In his note, I like flirting with females. Dude, insta kick, bro.
Oh my gosh.
Insta kick from the guild right away, out the door.
I like flirting with females.
Right away, out the door. And let me tell you, dude, like, again, the community of WoW is amazing. I love the community of WoW. But, seeing behind the scenes in a guild that works really hard to create, like, a positive environment for people, oh my gosh, dude, there are some weirdos at the same time that you get in, and the things people say or they do. That's one red flag. Another red flag, it's not always the case. It's not 100%. And I'm probably going to get myself in trouble for spoiling this one. Somebody's going to get mad at me for this. We might lose viewers for me saying this, and I apologize.
No.
But
really?
Dude, yeah, maybe. We might lose viewers for me saying this. And if this is you, I'm sorry. Live life how you want to live life. Just know that others might perceive it this way. When somebody joins the guild and then proceeds to just sit in voice chat all day long, with like nobody else there, that's usually like a pretty big red flag to me.
Why?
Because it's a red flag not for a logical reason, only for just like experiential reason, right? Like every time I've encountered that where somebody will just sit in VC all day and just wait and just like wait, always ends up being like the most awkward conversations. They almost always end up leaving. They almost always end up leaving the guild saying that nobody wants to talk to them or hang out with them. But it also always becomes awkward because you hop in VC and it's the most awkward conversation you've ever had in your entire life. So then all of a sudden, nobody's going into voice chat in the guild because they don't want to pop in the voice chat, and then like half a second later, that person will pop in and then just try to get them to talk, right?
Like sussy.
Yeah, so that's another red flag.
Sense.
Now, granted, if somebody joins the guild and they do that, it's not like the dude going, I like flirting with females.
Yeah, that was weird.
Like they're still welcome to be there. They're still like they can sit in VC all they want. Like there's no rule against
that. It's like
that.
a yellow flag.
But it's one of those things where like every time it happens, we just kind of look at each other and we're like, okay, let's just wait this one out. And every time we're like, we're gonna be wrong because you do feel bad. You're like, oh, why are we judging this person? We don't even know them. They just joined and all they're doing is sitting in VC. And then sure enough, every time. So there are some weird moments in WoW, but also like, dude, again though, like all my best memories in World of Warcraft are the people, dude. It's just the community and the people and we get to play with. And I think it's just on my mind because I think right now I'm thinking through like season 2 with our guild and all these things, and that just I don't know. I think it's just on the forefront of my mind. I'm excited to talk about it, but we don't have to live in that conversation. We can move forward. I know there's some news going on this week that you were.
This isn't the WoW dating simulator,
dude. You know what?
Imagine,
man? Listen,
dude.
bro.
They should make that. Just saying, WoW dating simulator.
Did you ever play Loverwatch, the Overwatch dating sim?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, there's an Overwatch dating simulator.
Do you think they should make a WoW dating simulator?
I think so. They need to make one and call it Make Love, Not Warcraft.
Oh my gosh.
Or you just call it Lovecraft, I guess.
Has anything come out of any other beef with the Piratesoftware thing?
Oh, yeah, there's been I think ultimately at the end of the day, right? I think there's 3 things going on. One, if people adore Pirate Software, they're just vigorously defending him. If people didn't like Pirate Software that much, then they're just vigorously attacking him. And if people are in the middle, they're kind of just lightly picking a side, right? Probably doing a lot of the like, I don't know. Both sides are in the wrong. My initial thoughts is the guy he originally beefed with, like, right, Yamoda. I always want to say Yamato, but that's a guy from Naruto. I will admit, like, he's kind of obnoxious and kind of really annoying. And so, like, part of me looks at that and I'm like, dude, I just, like, the guy seems kind of like a jerk anyways. Like, let's just, support Pirate Software.
Yeah,
but I think there's an element to Pirate Software, which is what I think rubs people the wrong way, of he just has this need to be correct. And the more time goes on, I think the more people are becoming aware of it. Clips are surfacing, things are happening. I think it's from Ashes of Creation. But there's even like a clip of him ranting about how a player pulled stuff in a dungeon or something, and it caused the group to wipe, and how terrible that was, and like how players need to be more aware of their surroundings, like all this stuff. Like he went off about it, right? Like he went off about it, and then he comes to find out, or he's shown proof that he was the one who accidentally pulled that extra stuff.
Yeah. And
rather like you or I, like if I was streaming and I got caught, right? Like, and I've done it before, right? Like I've been streaming, I'm like making fun of something, and then I realized, oh crap, no, that was me. I did it. Like I'm very like, oh, it might be you guys. I'm over here ranting, and I'm the one who caused the problem, right? Like you just accept and moved on. And the moment it was presented to him that it was his fault, he kind of like continued to just try and pass that blame off.
Like double down on it.
Double down. There was nobody, I think, that he was really calling out for it. Just that, like, it couldn't have been him.
Like,
and he wasn't saying, it wasn't me. He just kind of pretended to ignore. It was weird. And so I think the question people have right now, and this is a legitimate question. And by the way, if you're watching or listening to the podcast and you're like, well, just let the guy be, let him do his thing. At the end of the day, he chose to turn his camera on to entertain people, right? So. That kind of this comes with the territory, right? The nature of like, hey, people are going to analyze the way that you behave in front of the camera. That's just how it is. It's conversation. You want to entertain us, and we're being entertained. Sometimes just not in the way you want us to be entertained, and that's okay.
That's very true.
But I think what's happening is I think people are starting to realize that maybe this guy has a problem being wrong, right? That he, for whatever reason, he just cannot acknowledge when he's incorrect about something, and really always wants to have the position of the authority speaker on a topic, right? He likes being the authority, and he just can't be wrong. And I think that specific element, I think that's what this is about. I think this could have, if I'm being honest with you, I think this was inevitable. I think WoW happened to be the trigger for it. I think it's inevitable. Let me also just clarify. I totally condemn anybody who's like sending him threats, anybody who's telling him that he should do terrible things to himself, right? Like anybody who's actually genuinely harassing the dude, you gotta stop.
Bro, get a life.
You gotta stop. Don't do that. We can sit here and chat about like, oh, did he do the right thing, wrong thing? Like, is he responding well? Is he not responding well? Yes, let's have that conversation. But at the end of the day, he's somebody who's just trying to entertain you. If you're not entertained by it and you dislike it, go find somebody else who entertains you, right? Like that's the gist of it. But I do think, though, I think he needs to show humility. I really do, and I think if he can show humility, I think he'll start winning people back. But right now, I think a lot of people are just looking at going, this guy's really stubborn, and he won't acknowledge. Yeah, and it starts to feel inauthentic. Does it make sense? And the problem is like. He's always been like good guy Pirate Software. He's a good guy Pirate Software. And right now people are really struggling to actually see him as good guy Pirate Software. And I think right, being the good guy means more than just like donating money or paying your mods or having a ferret farm, right? It's also the way you personally respond to things. The way your gut reactions to things oftentimes convey like the way you think and process. And so I don't know. At this point, too, like, you just got to move on, right? You can't hound him forever. But I do think people are really, really watching him hard. And they're pulling up lots of old clips and moments where they're like, oh, did he actually
Yeah, I
know
mean,
this,
that
or
happens.
was he given this information by somebody else, like doing like playthroughs of games, finishing things faster than he should finish them? There's just a lot of questions, and so I don't know. The dude's under a microscope now,
Yeah,
but
he is.
but that's also the nature of it, right? Like,
Yep.
he turned on that camera. He wanted to stream. That's the nature of it. If my Twitch blew up tomorrow and I had like thousands of viewers watching me all the time,
Dude,
let me tell you right now. I could name so many reasons why people would be angry at me or want to cancel me.
You. Canceled.
Yeah, but absolutely, dude. Like, listen. I will help you.
I agree.
I will help you. Like, if you need help,
Dude, like
if I blow up tomorrow, right? If you guys tune into my stream tomorrow, and I have like 10,000 viewers on there, and you're like, dude, he's got 10,000 viewers. What's wrong with him? Message me.
Yeah.
I'll give you a list. I'll give you like 4 or 5 things that you could like tell people about, and they'd be like, "Oh, we got to cancel the guy. Stop watching." Right? Like at the end of the day, right? Like you turn the camera on and you're opening yourself up to scrutiny, and I don't think anybody can totally avoid scrutiny.
No, I mean, yeah, it's. Excuse me, sorry. I mean to just cough in the mic, but yeah, I mean it's one of those things of. And I say it all the time because, and it's not just about like just content creators. It's about famous people in general. Yeah. I mean, they're the ones that are opening themselves up to this. I mean, it's like, hey, we give these people almost like a power, if you will. Like, we're the ones that decide that they're going to be popular. If everyone stopped listening to, I don't know, Drake, like he wouldn't be popular anymore, right? Like he wouldn't be on the radio, right? He'd be done, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it basically comes down to people are gonna stick by him, like you said, and then other people are just gonna be like, no, he's a terrible person because he did this, and then they're just not gonna watch his stuff anymore, and life will go on, right?
You know what the irony of the situation is like, he literally could have just made one of those shorts of his that always do well, like with like the little paint drawings that he does on Microsoft Paint. He literally could have just drawn out and been like, if I was really thinking it through right, I could have used a level 1 Blizzard right here, and then again right here, right, and like mapped it out as if he's correcting himself, right? Like, because he's always doing that to correct other people or explain things to other people. If he had just done that to himself, it would have made the situation funny. It would have made people go, oh yeah, he's aware that he messed up, but he knows what he could do better, right? And I would actually almost say people would have looked at the other guy, the Yamato guy, whatever his name is, and been like, yeah, dude, why are you being so harsh about this, right? Like,
like who cares? Come on,
right? I think that the tables would have turned. It's one of those situations where I think the way that you respond to things, humility goes a long way, and I think people want to just know that like you're aware of yourself sometimes. And when you're watching somebody and you're like, oh, this person just is so unaware of themselves. It's hard to continue watching that. A good example, and this is a controversial example. But like look at like a Logan Paul, right? For those who don't know, who are listening and are like, what? So, the wrestler guy? Are you talking about the wrestler guy? So like Logan Paul, right? Did some stuff I think with Disney for a bit. Then he was like kind of on Vine. Then became like a big YouTuber. Very well known YouTuber. Now he has like a sports drink company and a bunch of other stuff like podcast. He's a part of like WWE, right, or whatever. He wrestles. But there was a point where it looked like he might have been over. I think he went into a forest in Japan that was like known for suicides, and happened to on video have a body on screen from a man who committed suicide, and he got canceled pretty hard for that, right? And I understand why he did it. I don't think he should have done it, but when you're constantly going, I need more and more views, and you're just recording everything you see, and you go, oh, that'll be a good thumbnail, right? Like all of a sudden, like I don't know if he went in the forest trying to find it, or if he just did find it and went, oh, well, right, like camera's already rolling. But he was canceled pretty hard, and yet was still able to turn around and succeed. So I don't think this is the end for Piratesoftware. I just think that he doesn't have to apologize or anything. People will still watch him.
No.
People will still watch him. But I do think public opinion would jump up tremendously if he just took a second, stepped back, and went, you know what, guys? I am being really stubborn on this, and I don't know why I'm being so stubborn. I could have done something different. I didn't do something different. It was a mistake, but like, let's move on, right? As simple as that, and I think people would be like, okay, sounds good, and move on, right? Like, because all of a sudden the fun of it's gone. The fun of it right now is that he keeps trying to fight everybody, right? That he keeps going, I'm the banned people who talk about this, or right? That's the fun of it. That encourages people to attack him more.
Well, yeah, and that, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you kind of just said it, like, at this point, like, he might actually be seeing like peak viewership because of this incident, right?
Yeah.
Like, people are tuning in to be like, oh, what's this scumbag gonna do now? Like, is he gonna like kill more people in WoW, right? Like, so people are actually like, oh, hey, like, interested in it, and like people are talking about it. So like, low key, he's probably like, oh, I'm just gonna keep feeding into this because it's gonna keep getting me views, and like, that's kind of a crappy way of doing it, but like,
but you can tell it's messing with him. And by the way, like, I really feel sorry for the guy, right? Like, you can tell this is something that's really stressing him out, like, genuinely stressing him out. So, you know, at the end of the day, it is what it is. It's interesting to watch. I think the drama is coming to an end, though. And I hope he's all right. I hope he's doing all right. I hope he's not stressing at home. But at the same time, I think the harder he fights it, the harder he's going to be hit by it, right? I think a lot of times in these moments, viewers, the community, it's kind of like trying to think of a good example. Like, you know, like the classic like cartoon scene where like you punch a punching bag too hard and it swings up and like swings back down and hits you.
Oh yeah. Or like the rake,
or the rake, or, right? Something where you hit it and then it hits you back harder, right? It's like is the idea of it. And I think that's that's what he's fallen into. Is I think every time he tries to punch back, I think it just encourages people to be worse, right?
Oh yeah.
And should they? No, their behavior, they shouldn't. They really shouldn't. But
it's not warranted, no.
But you know what? We are just talking about people on the internet, and that it kind of comes with the territory. And so,
bro, it's even worse on the internet, dude. When people have a screen to hide behind, dude, they'll say whatever they want.
Say whatever, dude. Oh my gosh, let me tell you, man. Dungeons, bro. I get some of the wildest things said to me in like Mythic Plus dungeons.
I know, right?
It's crazy.
I'm not gonna lie. I have done pretty well this season with not getting any like super bad like just like straight almost like hate speech, right?
Yeah.
There was like one where like I think I even procced it of like yeah, like, sorry guys, like I'm not like I should have like researched this a little more, like I should have prepped myself a little more for this dungeon. I think someone was like, yeah, you probably should have, like, even that's like, yeah, like, okay, you're kind of being a jerk about it, but still. Yeah,
the thing that gets on my nerves, though, I will admit, the one thing that gets on my nerves is when people like try to criticize you with a question.
Yeah.
Like, rather than just being like, hey, did you know that you can do this and it'll help you out? Right? Or rather be like, hey,
that's
Tank,
the worst.
Hey, right, Tank, try to do this. This will be helpful, right? It's just
you have AMZ, right?
Yeah, right. Like you right? Like, do you have AMZ? Question mark, right? Or like, you're right. Like the right question mark, right? So that's usually pretty rough. Or it's like the one word, right? It's like interrupt question mark.
Yeah.
And right, rather than being like interrupt the Mistweaver's call, right? Or something stupid like that, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, I've never been inclined to just, I don't know. It's very passive aggressive, right? It's very cowardly. It's a very cowardly insult. But I've never been inclined to do that, right? Like, if I feel like there's a mechanic somebody's ignoring or not capable of or just not doing, my gut is to be like, okay, let me explain it to him. Let me teach it to him. I don't care if we're in a +2 or a +10. I will like happily be like, oh, hey, this is how you handle that. Keep an eye out for it. Let's try this again.
Yeah.
No problem, right? Because my goal is to enjoy the game. And you know what? If it looks like we're not going to time the key because somebody did something wrong, well, guess what? Then we're not going to time the key because somebody did something wrong. I'm not going to yell at the person. That doesn't help. That doesn't make anything better. Let me help them. Let me teach them. Yeah. And then that way they're leaving this dungeon as a better player.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know.
Anyway,
I don't know.
Here we are ranting about things.
Yeah, dude. I love ranting about things. Dude, that's why we have the podcast, bro.
That's true. That is why we
This
podcast.
is my one time a week where I get to just sit and voice chat with you and rant about WoW.
Well, that's true. Hey, now that I finally got all my portals, and it's 100% my fault. Like, I don't know why I'm like, I level 631 and I'm like waiting to do my portals so that I can go in and not even proc freaking purgatory one time and just like do as much DPS as the actual DPS.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. I hard do that because I'm scared of being the problem we don't time dungeons, and I don't want to do that. Anyways, I've been watching some PTR, and it looks pretty good, you know?
Yeah, what are you
The zone
seeing?
looks pretty good. What was that?
What are you seeing so far?
Just the like, it's kind of just lurking, you know. I always kind of pull up Twitch in the background, but typically I pull up just like someone I know, like maybe like a smaller creator, right? You just kind of give them the views and just like kind of listen. Like I'll pull up you, good example, Zordic that we had on last week. I'll pull up him to give him some views, and you know, we have some other couple people that we watch that don't stream WoW that I'll just put on to give them the views. But I've been watching a couple bigger creators and just seeing the PTR. I watched some dungeons, which I was like, I mean, they were the older dungeons, so it didn't really matter. But I was watching the raid and just like them go around like the actual like zone, if you will. And it's, dude. Ugh.
I've heard good things about the raid. I've heard good things about the raid.
Aesthetically, it looks really good.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing. I've been hearing people love the way it looks. I heard some of the fights are really fun. So I'm excited. It looks good. I love the aesthetic of Undermine, which is fascinating because if you're like, yo, Swag, do you want a goblin zone? I don't know if my answer initially would have just been like, yeah, let's do it. But then the moment I saw it, I was like, yeah, I want that. I want that.
Oh yeah, dude, it looks sweet.
Yeah, dude, there's just something about like, don't get me wrong, I love going into a mysterious castle and fighting enemies in these massive underground layers and stuff like that. But sometimes, dude, I just want to go into a casino and fight giant slot machine monsters and metal T-Rexes, right? Like that can be like fun. That can be enjoyable. It doesn't always have to, and that's one thing I think WoW has always excelled at, is it doesn't always have to be super serious, right? Like it can just be a little goofy sometimes, and that goofiness is so
goofy's nice,
so sweet, and it's fun. Did you see that one boss in Raid where when it comes in, like when it spawns in, basically when it spawns in, it's like a car vehicle thing, and it kind of does like a swoop around drifts. It does like a drift around the arena, and if you're standing too close, it'll smack players and insta kill them. You'll instantly die, and it just leaves chunks of meat where your body should be.
Oh my gosh, that's kind of funny.
But what's fantastic is where it drifts across. Your first time in there, it really feels like the right spot for you to be standing. You like walking, you're like, I should be standing right here. And so I've been like watching clips of like entire raid teams just getting wiped out because they have no clue. They just see this car coming, like, oh, that looks cool. And I'm low-key like kind of looking forward to when our guild goes in there and seeing who falls for it. It's gonna be me. I'll probably fall for it.
Oh, it's 100% gonna be you. But you know, this kind of made me think about something, like looking at the PTR and just kind of like the aesthetic for it. And I want to know your thoughts on it, because I think if they did this, I think it would add an element to the game that I think would entice every single player. Like, I don't think it would just entice like M+ players. Like, I think it would entice everyone.
Yeah.
And it kind of came along with some of like the, you know, they're doing this like hoteling thing, which, I mean, we can talk about if you want to, but I think it's kind of like, oh, they're doing like a intro to, you know, player housing with this hoteling deal, right?
Yeah.
And that kind of aspect. But it seems like they're putting a lot of time into the zone, and like particularly like the main focal city of this zone, right?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this, and like in Dragonflight, Shadowlands, it didn't really matter for me because I joined in season 3, so everything was already there, right? But in Dragonflight, I was wondering why they didn't put an emphasis more on the main cities in the recurring seasons. So my thought is, why don't they do that and just kind of like close down Dornegal, like the auction house just closes down. Like maybe you put in like a professions center in this new area so that everyone can have crafting tables, that kind of gist. You got like a crafting center that you can, put in crafting orders, that kind of deal. And it becomes the new hub for your expansion just for that city or just for that season. I feel like, real quick, I feel like they put all these times into these zones, but I think of Emerald Dream. Like that zone was really pretty. Like it was a great zone, but literally the only time I went there outside of going to raid and doing the axe quest was for the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like I never went there outside of like the first 2 weeks of doing like the campaign. And I just feel like they put so much work into these zones, and then we don't even we spend maybe like 2 weeks there, and then it's basically just, oh, now I have to fly through an extra zone to get to raid, right? Like,
so
I don't know. What do you think?
I can explain.
What do you think?
I think I can explain why. There's a few reasons. One, I think it depends who is that zone made for, right? I would argue that zone's not made for you and I. Now we might have fun because the cards thing might be different. We'll find out. But that zone's generally not made for you and me. The raid is made for you and I, right? The dungeons are made for you and I. But the zone, the dungeon really,
pool,
right? Like I'm the same way, dude. I only went into the Emerald Dream when I had to do something for power, right? Like if I had to farm something, or when I was getting my axe and I had to farm the heck out of materials.
Or if you're going to the raid,
or if I'm going to the raid. Which, by the way, it was a beautiful zone.
Yeah.
However, I do think there are a lot of players who spend tons of time in those zones, farming things nonstop, trying to collect everything that's available. Those players are getting the most out of it. The issue, though, is Dornegal, and this applies to pretty much all faction or major capital cities in each expansion. Dornegal is pretty central. It's easy to go around from Dornegal. Now, I will say the Warwithin's a little bit unique, where mostly everything's underground, and Dornegal's above ground. So that's a little odd, but even still, you just fly down for a second, all of a sudden you're underground and you're in the Ringing Deeps, or there's like the portal from Dornegal into Ajkahet, or you like fly into the Ringing Deeps and then just make a quick little left turn and now you're in Hallowfall. So it's pretty central. It's pretty central to getting places. Yeah. The problem would be, I don't think Undermine would have that, and they would just have to put a bunch of portals or passageways. Right, like, oh, hey, step here, and it'll teleport you over to the zones you want to go to, which they could do. But I think there's a lot more that goes into a capital city than we give it credit for, right? Because if you think about it, right, you need the trading post, you need the auction house, you need the delve hub, right? They have that little hub spot now for delves.
That would be easily movable, though.
You need the. No, I'm still going. You need the trade, like the, not the. Well, I said trading post, auction house, bank. You're going to need like the portals back to Stormwind and Orgrimmar. You're going to need the rostrum of transformation for, for your flying mount, because that still has to be around for some reason. I don't know. I mean, you need the device that converts your gear to tier available there. Not only do you need the auction house, but you also need whatever the new crafting auction house thing is. I always forget the name of it.
I just say crafting orders.
Yeah, right. You're gonna need that available. You're also gonna need like all your little. I don't know. There's so many things. So you're gonna need the portal to get to all the dungeons for that season.
All the dungeons.
You're gonna need the location to be upgrading all your gear. I think there's a lot more that goes into Hub City. I also think the Hub City lets them tell a story that makes us feel like that's our truly central location.
Yeah, I mean, I do understand what you're talking about, and I would play the devil's advocate a little bit, just saying like, hey, like the thing is, like, we've been in these zones for the last 6 months. Like, how often are we going to be exploring those outside of in this new season, right? Yeah. And maybe it's, hey, we're in this new undermined location and we have to go to Hallowfall to do the next step of the storyline quest, right? Or to do this quest, right? And I do agree that there are certain things in the central location, like auction house, like crafting, but like I'm not going to the trading post weekly. Like I'm barely going there monthly. And the bank, I don't think I've used my bank since Warband Banks or Warband Bank, right? That's what it's called.
Yeah, Warbanks.
Like you have that little cast thing that just gives you that little blob that you can access the bank. Like I just store all my stuff there now.
Oh,
so I don't really go to the bank. What was that?
I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh yeah, I just store all my stuff.
I just don't use the bank. So.
Well, yeah, I don't really use the banks.
I think
either,
I got like 3 shovels just sitting in my bank, and that's it.
Oh my goodness! What do you do with your Warband stuff? Like your
you know what? You know what? Those are in my war bank, but there's not a lot of them, right? I think I have like 3 items in there, maybe.
Yeah, but like I'm saying, like if I get something that's like bind until equipped, like typically I just put it in that because I can access it from wherever I am because of the little thing that they give you.
I guess I just put it on the auction house. Yeah, I don't.
Oh well. Yeah. I'm just curious, like to be honest, like outside of Dornegal, like I don't go, like I go outside in mine, like in Dornegal, or not in Dornegal, in the Isles, right? But like outside of that, like I don't really go to any zones. So I'm just curious why that's never happened, or maybe it has happened and they're like, blah, like we don't like it.
I think it stems from like the original creation of WoW, right? Like where they had multiple faction cities, right? Yeah. And then I think over time they started to realize that they don't like splitting people into too many cities.
That makes sense.
Right, and that's what ultimately happened, right? Because you would still have people, unless they took everything out of
that
Dornegal,
makes sense.
Right, unless they took everything out of Dornegal, then they're splitting up between all the locations.
Yeah.
So then maybe it'll just feel smaller, right? Everything will feel less populated. Maybe. But it's a good question. I think it does take more developer time, though, to... I mean... to develop that, right? Undermined might, just by the nature of it being kind of a city center... might be fine, but like most, like if you think like Emerald Dream,
Emerald Dream.
What would they have done, right? Like
they would have had to. The city would have had to been like bigger, like or like the little area with like the Alliance or your faction.
The
whatever.
Nice thing with Emerald Dream though is Emerald Dream was easily accessible, which was nice.
Right? It was.
Like you could get to the Emerald Dream pretty dang easy. There's like a portal right there in Valdrakken. The difficulty I think with some locations. What was the season right before Emerald Dream? We had that underground zone. You remember what that was called?
The Lone Ninfin, whatever.
Yeah, the Lone Ninfin. Wailing, was that Wailing Caverns?
Maybe, yeah.
No, Wailing Caverns is the dungeon from Classic. Dang it, what was it called? But anyways,
look it up real quick.
Yeah, you can look it up.
Zarelek Caverns,
right? That was a pain in the butt to get down to. Dude, I almost did nothing in Zarelek. Yeah. As soon as I got, I think I did the quest line for the Dragon Mount or something.
Yeah.
And as soon as I was done that, dude, I did nothing. The Lone Niffin, dude, I did nothing for those little mole people. Yeah. I'm sorry, that was so far away. That's too much work. I'm not doing that.
The little people.
I made people summon me to raid night. I was like, I'm not flying down there.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not flying down there. You guys gotta summon me. That one was like a little bit of a pain to get to. That
one was rough.
Yeah. Which I think they realized. I think Blizzard has come out and been like, yeah, we realized that we made it too annoying to get there. Which I know why they did, right? They wanted to show off their like new technology of how like you can fly underground. And it is funny because like I fly down to the Ringing Deeps. I don't think about it twice, but I think because the entranceway is right there in the city.
Oh, it's right there. Yeah.
So I'm just like, whoop, going down, and you're flying like straight down. You're not like going through like the cave. And there like you had to like go find the entrance, and then once you found the entrance, then you had to like wind your way through, and then you get in there. But where you enter isn't even close to where you want to be.
Yeah, it's not even close. Yeah.
And
yeah, I get it. But just some food for thought, just some topics, No,
it's an interesting conversation because, it is kind of inconvenient when you get to these locations and all of a sudden you're like, oh wait, I don't have access to any of the things I want to do. Now, granted, now you have the
now we have the
Bruto, the Brutosaur mount. So that took a good chunk off the plate, right? You have the war bank that you can summon. You can transmog wherever, right? Like at some point you just go, okay. I didn't list that. I didn't list that in things that cities have, right? The transmog shop.
Transmog,
Transmog shop. Yeah, and all the profession trainers.
Yeah, I mean that would be there'd be certain things that they would have to pull over, like the auction house, like little things like that. But then, like, I mean, I think of things that like I use once and then I never use again.
I think the
But,
question
I mean,
is, right, like, do
hard.
they full commit to it or not, right? And I think if they're gonna go, okay, we're moving the major city to the new location, then I think they have to full commit.
Oh yeah, they would.
Yeah, but then
Like
that creates a weird new player
yeah.
experience because you walk into the major city for the first time and nobody's there.
Yeah, it would almost have to be like that. That would be hard because I feel like even at that point, it would almost have to be like quest driven, right? Like it would have to be like, oh, if you're in this part of the campaign, like your major cities in, you know, this new zone. If you're in the past part of the campaign, then you're, you know. But then, like, what if people are like, I don't give a crap about that? Like, I just want to be in the new zone. Then, like, how do you skip that? But yeah I mean, like logistically speaking, yeah, I feel like there'd be a lot of kinks that they'd have to work through. But if they made it work, I think that would be kind of cool.
It could be. I'm not totally opposed to it. I'm just, my brain, the way my brain works is usually when I hear something like that, and I'm sure people have noticed it when they ask like questions, like they give like ideas in the viewer, like the listener question section. Like my initial thought process is, okay, well, why aren't they doing that already, right? And then I try to think, okay, what are the things that reasons they're probably not doing it, and then I kind of live there. But I get proved wrong a lot, right? Like there are a lot of times where I'm like, oh, this is why they don't do it, this is why it doesn't happen, and then they end up doing it. And sometimes I'm right. Sometimes they do it, and people are like, I love this, I'm so glad we have it, and then the game kind of goes downhill because they realized it didn't exist in the first place for a reason. That is one thing WoW players, I especially WoW players, I think people as a whole, but WoW players are really bad at, is we love asking for things because we think they'll make our life better and more convenient, and then they just make the game less fun. Like long term, right? In the moment, we're like, yeah, I can do this now, but then like long term, it just makes us burn out on the game faster.
Player housing.
Well, we'll see. It depends on how player housing looks, right?
Yeah,
depends on how player housing
I'm
looks.
a little nervous. We'll see.
If player housing is fully cosmetic and nothing else, I think that's the win. The win for player housing is a cosmetic only experience. Yeah. If player housing offers you power of any kind, whether that's character strength or access to resources, and the resources
like convenience
type things. Convenience things, but even just access to like mining, access to leatherworking, access to your professions, access to banks. I don't know. Granted, some of those things don't even matter anymore because again, you have like mounts that have auction houses on them. Yeah. But I do think if it offers power to players of any kind, I think at that point then that becomes a dangerous slope. Yeah. And people are going to, again, comment and be like, you have an auction house mount, so nothing matters anymore. But, again, you cede some ground, but maybe don't give up the whole farm, right? Like, keep some of it. Yeah, right. Keep some of it. So, we'll see. We'll see how that looks. Again, though, I think purely cosmetics also what would be the most fun for people. I think it becomes another thing to do. I would love, while we're on the topic of player housing, I would love if when player housing came out, they retroactively added stuff across the game, right? Like,
wait, what do you mean?
So, like, imagine if player housing came back and they just said, "Hey, we made of all the stuff that can go into your player house, we made an extra 50 that we hid throughout old content."
Oh, that'd be kind of cool. Yeah,
that'd be kind of cool, right? It's like, oh, dude, if you go back to dude, like go back to Ice Crown Citadels, my illustration from earlier, right? But like go back to Ice Crown Citadel, and if you farm all the bosses, every boss has a 1% drop rate or something. 1% is not too bad, right? Especially if every boss has it. Every boss has a 1% drop rate to drop a chair made of ice that you could put in your player house or something, right? I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool,
right? It would be like, okay, cool, right? Like that would be fun, and even if they just went like, hey, we're just retroactively putting one thing in every previous raid for you to go farm and try and get. Cool, whatever. It doesn't have to be crazy or complicated, but just
heck no.
Here's things here's things you can just go do and farm as a player. Then I don't know. That to me would be cool, and I feel like easy enough, right?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. You'd think that it wouldn't be too hard. It's not like they have to tune anything. They just leave it exactly how it is and just add like a piece of loot, right?
Yeah, like 1% drop rate. If there's 8 bosses or 10 bosses or whatever, right? Farm that, I don't know, 6-7 times, and boom, you probably got it. Yeah, I don't know.
So
that's an idea.
Yeah, no, I think that's kind of a good idea. But I was bringing up the PTR because they actually released a little bit of footage. I think it was a Dorky stream that actually showed some of it, of the new Pulsar affix, the one that's supposed to replace the orbs.
Okay, I've not seen that. How's that look?
It looks like 100 times better. And I think they did it in a way that makes sense. So basically, if you're not familiar, the orbs mechanic, this one where the orbs come down and they like try to gravitate towards like trash or like a boss, and then you gotta like stand in between them, you consume them, and then you get like a mastery leech buff, right?
Yeah.
They are removing that, and they're putting in this new Pulsar affix to replace it. And basically what it does is it just puts an orb around you that just constantly just like rotates clockwise around you. And basically you have to line up with your team and have the orb hit another player in your team, and then you get the buff. You get like the 4% mastery, and then it stacks with the rest of your team.
Okay, that's not too bad.
I didn't see if it hits an enemy that they get the buff, or like if it, you know, I didn't, it didn't look like it was that way. It kind of looked,
it's probably timer based, like the well, they couldn't do the enemy thing, because imagine you have just a huge pack when that comes out. What's your tank gonna do, right? Like,
right.
Yeah, so it's got to be only hitting players.
Like spawns,
probably on time. Right. You probably have like 8 seconds or something to do it. What I like about this affix is, again, I like affixes that add small details, but don't radically change the way you play, right? So, like, for example, right now, this week, pre-releasing this podcast, I guess it will be the same tomorrow when the episode goes live.
Yeah.
But the affix right now, right, where the Zalatath ghost pops up and chases you around, you know, I like that one because it's not crazy. Now, maybe high keys, they would hate it. But for like a plus 10, plus 11, it's not crazy. Like the ghost pops up, you go, oh, let me just burn that down real quick and back to business. You almost kill it with and the nice thing is, while you're attacking, you're still doing AoE to everything else, so you're still dealing damage. It's a minor thing. It's not crazy. It doesn't feel wildly punishing. Like, dude, I hated Sanguine. Sanguine was the dumbest thing ever. Goodness. And there were so many affixes like that just like felt super annoying. What I like about this one is it's relatively easy to handle, which is good. But also what I like is in an uncoordinated group. Now, granted, you know, pugging will always naturally be harder. In an uncoordinated group, in a pug group, there's a good shot you're going to have to go out of your way to hit your orb into another player and really make sure it hits them, right? However, I could totally see in like groups where you're in VC together, or groups that play together and are really coordinated. And you don't even have to be that coordinated for this. You just have to be thoughtful, right? Like, I would do this in a pug. I just don't know if I would expect other people to do it in a pug. But I could absolutely see like groups that are like more familiar with the content and running together, not just trying to hit somebody with your orb, but also trying to grab people's orbs for them.
Yeah.
Right? Going, oh, this person orb swinging by. Let me step in the way.
Right.
Right. Like that. And I like that. What I like about the affix is like, it's not crazy hard to handle, but it can be easier if your players are thoughtful about it. And that to me is a good thing. It just adds a little extra level of complexity to it, but not annoying complexity, just complexity like, oh, hey, actually, we can make our lives easier by supporting each other.
Oh, yeah. No, it's that. I think it's a win. To be honest, outside of the bugginess of the orbs mechanic, that one was the worst affix. Like, it definitely was. I mean, the dispel one is kind of annoying, but like it's just kind of annoying. But that one was like, oh, I literally have to like run across the map to get it, and then like there'd be points where it'd just be super glitchy, and then you're like, yeah. So I do think this was like, I was a little nervous how they worded it. Like, oh, is this going to be kind of dumb? Is it going to be like way too easy?
Yeah.
But I think they made it like perfect. Like, if all the affixes were like this, I think I would be very happy with all of them.
Yeah. And I think too, I think the nice thing too is because I think the one that they got rid of, am I correct? The one that they got rid of was the one that also gave enemies health.
No, that one stayed.
Dang it, I don't like enemies getting health. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I remember now. Yeah, I hope they change that.
That's the dispel one.
Okay, I don't mind the dispel. I just hope they change the punishment for it. Because there's nothing worse than like you're fighting a boss and like you're just watching the boss's health go up and you're like, that means our haste, right? Like that means our lust that we use was completely pointless because the boss has more health than what we cut down with lust. But anyways, no, that's pretty cool. I like that. I like that piece there. That's a nice new. I think they're cooking. I think Blizzard's been cooking with affixes this expansion. Mythic Plus is not necessarily in the best spot it's ever been, and we had a good conversation about, well, is that due to the tank problem? Which, I'm starting to hear, ever since we talked about it, I'm starting to hear more and more people in agreement with that. So I'd like to say, we said it first. We said that it's the tank problem that's causing the most.
Oh my gosh!
I would say 90, 80. Let's say 80% of the tension with M Plus right now is the tank problem, in the sense that like if you just don't have enough tanks, then that means you can't fit everybody into groups, which means that you're only going to take the absolute highest scoring players, which means you're also only going to take the meta specs, right? And a bunch of other things, right? And a bunch of other things. I think you'll still have problems if you fix the tank issue, but I think 80% of your problems will go away kind of on their own if you have enough players playing tanks. Blizzard's never been able to get that many people playing tanks, but if they can find a way to do it, they'll fix a lot of problems. With that said, though, I will admit, listen, affixes are cooking. Blizzard, you guys are doing a great job with affixes. I get it. The one with the orbs didn't quite work out great on all mechanics, and it has to be swapped out. But you know what? You're still doing a great job. They feel fantastic. I know some players don't like the jump from 11 to 12 keys, and they want to see that change, and people want to see the timer issue change. But again, those aren't even like the cool affixes that you're making. Those are just simple like, deaths cost more now. So I was gonna say, Blizzard, the stuff that you guys are creatively working on and like coming up with for affixes, if anybody here listens to the podcast, works at Blizzard, you guys are doing a good job. Also, if you guys ever want to come on for an episode with us, just let us know. We want to complain. We want to complain having Blizzard representation chat with us.
No, that would be pretty cool.
That would be so sick.
That would be awesome, having someone from Blizzard on the podcast. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think you're right. It's nothing with like the actual like how do I want to word this? It's not like the actual gameplay that makes M Plus bad. It's like just I don't know. I don't even know if I can word it. Like everything. The dungeons are good. Affixes are good. Like blah blah blah. All that stuff is good. It's just something about like just the classes, the roles, how they work out. Like it's just not good.
Yeah,
anyway.
I just think I don't think you have enough healers. I don't think you have enough tanks. I think tanks are in a worse off situation than healers, but I don't think healers are much better. And I think if you can focus, and I think for some reason Blizzard right now is trying to say, okay, well, we want to make tanks we want punishment for them and challenge for them. And the problem is that they're too punishing, they're too challenging. And Blizzard, you guys might come back and be like, no, they're not. They're not too challenging. Yeah. We have data. We see it. We know how it plays. Well, the problem is the players aren't playing it. And if players aren't playing it, then that means it's just not fun. And whatever it takes to make it fun, do that. If tank has to be the basically free roll, then okay, cool. It's basically free roll. But whatever it takes to get tanks and DPS lined up, because the reality is the more people are having fun playing tanks, the more people will have fun playing DPS. But if everybody's playing DPS and nobody's playing tanks, then DPS aren't getting in groups and DPS aren't going to be happy. Yeah, that's the nature of it. But we talked about that a lot already, so I don't know. I don't know if we need to rant about that again.
We talk about dungeons all the time. So, I mean, there's one more thing that I kind of just wanted to talk about, and then we can talk about our listener questions, because I think the one we'll end up spending a fair amount of time on.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention, they look like in 11.1 in Season 2, they're going to add some kind of way to respec your knowledge points for professions.
I heard that, but it's only one time, correct?
It's one time, which honestly is good. I mean, I think they should have made it like maybe 2 or 3 times, to be honest, but it can't be infinite because that would just be busted. Like, you'd have people just respecking that way. Like I'm thinking about like engineering, you would just have someone respec that way they can get max profession, or they can get max crafting on like certain gear, right?
So I do not do professions at all. Okay, so let me ask a question so I can understand. If let's say you max out your profession or whatever, right? If you were to go respec, does that mean that wherever you put your talents into will just also be maxed out?
I think so, yeah. Okay. Like I think
because then the problem is, right, a blacksmith theoretically, I'm just making sure I understand this. A blacksmith theoretically, if you had infinite respecs, could literally just be like, oh, I can craft anything, and then you pick something he can't craft, and he just goes, oh, let me respec real quick, and then all of a sudden you craft it. So it really gets rid of like the purpose of choice. I also think players who get really big into crafting are also players who get really big into alts. I think often those can, not always, but I think often they're pretty in sync. So I almost wonder, to some degree, I think some players actually like that. They go, oh, this is my blacksmith that does this, and this is my blacksmith that does this, right? So there's like a little bit of an element of that, I think, for some people that get really like, people get really into professions. I imagine they like having more reason to do the thing they like doing.
Yeah.
But I could absolutely see it just being absolutely abused. Do you know how talents work, though, in Classic?
In, like, talents?
Yeah, just normal talents in Classic WoW, if you want to respec them.
No.
So I think originally when WoW came out, I think you could not respec. I could be wrong on that. But I think you could not respec at all. And then pretty quickly, again, I could be wrong on this, on that first part. I know this second part, though, is true, right? But pretty quickly they added in the ability to respec. And what was interesting about respecing, because I remember this from playing WoW forever ago, is that it would cost you gold to respec. So I think your first respec might have been free, or fairly cheap. And you have to remember, money was a lot harder to come by in Classic than it is now. And it cost a pretty penny. It was not that cheap to respec, but every time you respec, it got more expensive.
Oh, dang.
Right? It got more and more. And so part of me wonders, what if they used that system even, right? Where they said, hey, look, you can respec, but like whatever the cost is doesn't make it worth it to like respec just for one item.
Yeah, for professions. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I think this is like a fail-safe of like, oh, I accidentally put like 15 profession points into something that I thought was going to be good and it's not good.
Okay. That makes sense.
Which, like, I've done that because I put profession points into stuff and I'm like, wait, I don't really actually care about this. But now I'm like out like 3 weeks worth of profession points. And I'm like, okay, well.
Because what if Blizzard said, hey, you get one free respec and then everything else is like 50,000 gold?
Yeah, I mean, that would be, I think that would be kind of a way to do it. I don't see that as a bad thing. I kind of like that.
And then it's like, okay, I really, really, really want to respect this one. Yeah. And that's really only applying to people who are actually making decent gold off of their crafting to begin with, right? You could even say, nah, push it down to 25,000 or something. I don't know, right? Yeah. But something that just goes, okay, this is a lot of gold. I'm not just going to spend this willy-nilly for funsies because I'm lazy, right? It's like, no, like,
oh my goodness, yeah,
right. It's not like, oh, I need to craft myself a sword real quick. Let me just convert my blacksmithing over to weapons now, right? Like, I don't know. I don't know. Again, I don't know totally how professions work right now, but that's kind of the thought that goes through my head. Is like, is there a lesson, weirdly enough, from like classic WoW talents of like, no, like here's how you give people the option to respec if they have to, if they really, really regret their choices. But at the same time, like, you know, it's not the most convenient, right? You're paying for that convenience a little bit.
No, I agree. Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair trade-off.
Yeah. Dude, I saw you have notes on the Plunderstorm Creator Royale. In the show notes. Did you keep track of it at all? I saw the end of it.
No. I wish I would have, but I basically put that on there so that we could shout out again if anyone's from Blizzard is watching that. I think we would be good at that. Like I think they should invite us.
We'd be pretty good advice. One note, because you and I again have a pretty decent background in Fortnite and playing a lot of Fortnite.
Yes.
We were both Fortnite creators and streamers for a while. So it's a game we both cherish pretty heavily and probably have spent too much money on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely more than me.
Yeah, let's not talk about that, okay? But so they had their Creator Royale, which was like their big tournament. I think it was a $50,000 prize for this tournament.
Oh dang! Right? Oh yeah,
so,
it was.
So decent money on the line for this tournament.
Yeah.
And the winner of the tournament basically just took advantage of a bug that let them not take damage.
No, stop.
I think, if I remember correctly, I think they even like hid out in the storm with it for a minute.
Dude.
And so I'm kind of waiting to see if Blizzard comes back and goes, no, you don't win because of that. But part of me worries that Blizzard's just going to be like, whatevs, sounds good. It's okay. We just want to move on, right?
Like, it's just a fun game mode, right?
Yeah, right. But, I think it was, I don't want to throw somebody under the bus who didn't do it, but I think it was Gingy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'd have to. Okay, second Plunderstorm Creator Royale victory claimed by Gingy and Mears. So they got the grand prize, which was $25,000. I think the total prize pool was $50,000. So they got $25,000. Despite being fourth place overall points and not getting any eliminations. Here's the trick. They got no eliminations in the final game.
Oh, bro.
They cleverly used a tower roof inside of Stormguard Keep to avoid lightning strikes from the encroaching storm, winning the match and the ultimate victory. Okay, so I'd have to go watch it. So I don't know how far you've made into Plunderstorm, but when the circle gets really tight in Plunderstorm, like lightning starts coming down. You get like swirlies all over the place. And the longer it goes, like the more rapid those swirlies get. And I don't think the storm keeps shrinking. I think it just kind of goes, okay, this is as small as I get, but you're going to deal with like crazy like AoE damage, swirls all over the place. And I guess they hid in one of those towers, which maybe the roof or something, or the stairs or whatever, prevented them from taking damage from it. And so the question is like, is that a bug that they should be reprimanded for, or was that just smart usage of the map? And I think you could go either way. Because there's also nothing really stopping their opponent from. Oh wait. Okay, I'm looking at the video. They weren't in the building. They were on top of the building.
Oh.
Which I guess maybe for some bug the lightning just could not strike there. And that's not somewhere that you can just like naturally access. And I don't know if players can even hit you when you're up there either, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't feel good. No, that doesn't feel good. That feels more like a meme video for YouTube, right? Like, can I win Plunderstorm by standing on this roof the whole match, right? Like that sounds like that, not a $50,000 prize pool tournament, right? So I don't know, dude. I don't know what people are gonna do. Like when your winner wins without killing a single person.
Yeah, that's a little interesting.
Questionable. Now, granted, it's only for that match, but even still.
Yeah,
it's hard to tell. Now, they did have eliminations in other matches. So just to give credit, they had eliminations in other matches. But they total, I think, had 26 eliminations across the matches they played, where you had like Zaryu and Peekaboo, for example, with like 59 eliminations.
Yeah.
So it is interesting to watch. But again, though, battle royales are different. Battle royales are a different style of game, and really it's about winning the overall match. That's what's fun to watch, right? Not just eliminations, but who's actually winning. So it's cool. I like watching it. It's kind of like a crossover of two types of games that you and I love to play, and so it's fun for us to take a look at. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think if we don't get invited, I think we riot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyways.
Okay, so moving on.
Speaking of riot.
Yeah, dude, you gotta grease those poles, right?
Oh my gosh.
Dude, listen, man. Proud to be a Philly boy here. Okay, so
oh my gosh.
we got listener questions in. And I'll let you kind of strike these. Well, maybe I'll take the second question, but this first question, I'd love to hear from you.
I'll read the first one because I left in a certain tidbit of this question and I'll explain why. So the first question was from one of our Discord members named Carb. Said, thanks for answering the question. He's referring to a question from last podcast.
Mm-hmm.
The question last podcast was basically like, do you think it would be okay for them to put in a Warband specific crafting order system
I do remember
in player housing? Yeah. And he follows that up by, I guess that does make sense, kind of a niche problem. And the only reason I don't just go to trade chat is because I like to craft things for myself, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And I did think about that a little bit because, part of my thing is I always listen back to the podcast. One, because I like to kind of give myself personal feedback. And two, if I can't enjoy our content, I don't think I should expect other people to enjoy it. So I always listen back to our podcast. And I was listening back to this and I was thinking, you said that characters are in different guilds, like that's pretty niche or like on different servers. But the servers thing is kind of what got me. I think if you play in different servers, but even if you're not in the guild, I think that's not as niche because, I mean, even in our guild, we don't tend to put all of our alts in the guild, right? So like if I'm playing an alt that like, hey, I'm just leveling this up to 80 and, maybe I won't even play it ever again, but I kind of want to craft this gear and I'm on a different server, that might be a good case of like, hey, like, do I just join the guild for a second or like,
Yeah.
Anyways, I just a thought. So maybe it's not as niche as we made it seem, but anyways.
What? Let me give to that question. Sometimes you hear a question and you think of it differently than the last time you thought of it, right? And I think the last time I heard it, I was pretty much like, no, it is the way it is. Just go ask trade chat, right? However, there's a thought that went through my head, right? And the thought is twofold. One, the idea of warbands is that you as a player should feel like your achievements are applicable to you, not just the character, right? It's kind of moving a little bit away from the RP element and more towards rewarding you as a player. It's a different mindset, and sometimes it takes me time to understand.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think, as a player, if you've put all that work into develop those professions, then you should be the one more than anybody else who reaps the reward of that work you put in, right? Number one. Number two, and this one kind of really determines it, how difficult is it to pull off, right?
Yeah.
And so if it's like, no, this is actually like engine breaking because of the way servers work, it would actually be mad complex. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. But if it's just simply one line of code going, don't allow cross-server orders.
Mm-hmm.
And then and it says don't allow cross-server orders unless in the same guild, right?
Yeah.
And then they could just add also unless on same account, right? Like if it was that simple, like one little line of code, boom, done, move on. You know what?
Yeah, right.
Blizzard, do it right now. Make it go live this Tuesday, right? Like I think that's where my mindset changes. Now, if it's really complex, if it's like actually more work than we realize, then okay, whatever. But I do think to a degree, right? You should be the one who benefits the most off the work you put in.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I thought you were gonna bring up the fact that you couldn't get anyone to craft your thing in trade chat. I really thought that's what you were gonna say.
Oh my gosh, guys. Listen, it took me like 3 days. 3 days of posting in trade chat, being yo, can anybody make these leather shoulders rank 5, eye level 636, please? Yeah. Nothing. I don't know what it is. I don't know if there's I don't know what's going on, dude, but trade chat this week has been dead. Like this weekend was dead in a way I've never seen in my history of playing World of Warcraft. Now, usually I have trade chat hidden, so I don't know what the heck's going on. But dude, I was trying so hard to get something crafted. And I posted in there, and then hung around Dornagal working on some stuff for an hour. Open up trade chat again. My message was the only one there. The only one. I'm like, what? What the heck is going on? And so eventually I'm like watching trade chat, and finally somebody goes, "Hey, I can craft just about anything. Let me know if you need something crafted." I like so fast whispered him, so freaking fast. I was like, "Can you make these shoulders, please?" And he's like, "Yeah, I can do that. Send it to this character." And he like sent me one of his like alt names. I was like, "Ooh," I typed it in so fast. I was like, so fast. I was like, I need to get this crafted. So you know what? Like maybe my mindset has changed because of that. To be honest, that didn't even cross my mind, but that was such a weird moment. This weekend. I'm just trying to gear up my monks, dude.
That's what I thought you were gonna say. Like trade chat is bust.
Dude, I was like ranting about it too. I was like, is it just me? Are servers acting weird? What's going on? So what's the actual question?
Back to Carb's actual question. So his question is, what would you guys think if Blizz would allow us to transfer crests to alts, much the same way that upgrades become discounted after an achievement? We could transfer crests even at a rate of 3-1, but I figure people have many tunes or with people have mains with tons of crests and no use for them. So I have
and he did mention right. He did say right, and you try to look at gear for your alt, but the amount of dungeons you have to do is crazy, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's like nuts. I mean, I've thoughts on this. I don't know if you want to talk about it first. You want me to go? That's up to you.
I'll go first. This is actually something I could probably talk about for a little while.
Oh
but
yeah.
I'm gonna sum up. Listen, Carb. I gave up ground on the crafting thing just so I could tell you no right now. All right, I turned my last no into a yes. So I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, yeah. I've heard this argument a lot. I've actually heard people make this argument a lot, and it's a tough one. The problem right now is that the discount is good because the discount basically says, hey, you know these dungeons, you've done these dungeons before. And you're trying out different classes. Let's help make that process a little faster. But even with a discount, you still have to do that content with that class, right? And I think that's one thing that we have to be careful of. We see it with M+ right now, like lower M+ dungeons, like maybe like or mid range, I guess M+ dungeons, like 6s, 8s. We're seeing that problem right now where players are coming from delves going, oh yeah, I feel like I capped out on delves. I need some more gear. And they're popping into these dungeons and they know nothing. And they're like way in over their head, but they don't want to do a lower dungeon because the +2 won't give them anything that they need, right? They want to get that next level. I think the problem we're going to encounter is let's say I played the heck out of my DK and my bags are just packed with crests, like just packed with crests. My gear's all upgraded. I don't know, dude. I've just been slamming keys on my DK, and I go, you know what? I want to work on my mage now. I want to try mage, and I hop on, and I just send all those crests over to my mage, but I have no clue what the heck I'm doing, right? And I'm like queuing up for groups, and people are like, oh, this dude's like 628 eye level. He must be pretty goated. I think the problem then becomes like I'm walking into these dungeons with like a highly geared character with the expectation that I will do well. Now you could say, well, rating is also a thing. I know. But eye level and rating are usually combined to make those judgment calls, right? And all of a sudden I'm walking in with a class I barely know how to play, right? Into a dungeon that I shouldn't be in, but I'm in because my gear seems impressive. I think people would lose trust. I think people would pretty quickly lose trust. There's already enough scrutiny when you're inviting people to groups, and I think you can only risk so much of that. I do think to some extent, contrary to what I just said, right? Like your accomplishments should be shared across your account, right? Like your warband represents the work you've put in, but I think to some degree too, your character represents the work you put in on that specialty, right? My blood DK represents the work I put in on playing blood. I do think alt gearing should be a little bit easier than it is right now. I don't hate the rate of 3 per 1. If anything, I would probably say that it also downgrades your crests in the process. So if I were to say I like if I were to give the swag stamp to it and be like, this is the swag stamp of approval, not that that means nothing. Blizzard can do whatever the heck they want, right? Like, go convince them. That's fine. I won't be upset.
Yeah.
But if I were to be like, I think this could work, I would say it should downgrade your crest, not just give you less, but downgrade it. So if I have gilded crests and I trade them over to an alt, it should downgrade them to runed. And that way you just ensure that, like, okay, well, if your main character is running 10s, right, then you're probably fine trying out some 6s on your alt.
Yeah.
Right, just jumping right into 6s with gear like ready for 6s. But maybe you shouldn't be jumping in at the same level that your main is jumping in right off the bat. Now, you might be listening and be like, nah, swag, dude, I'm equally good on all of them. That's awesome. Probably not the norm, though. You're right. Like, I know I've been playing I've been playing Blood forever. I love Blood, but I've been playing Brewmaster Monk lately, and it's taken me a minute. I think I'm running 10s now. I think I'm doing all right. But it's taken me a minute to, like, feel like I'm doing all right. So that's my thought would be, if it were to work, I think you would have to downgrade the crest in the process. And that way you're not looking at too much, but you're going, okay. But again, the thing people are looking at really when they're thinking about gearing up is the gilded crests.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're right. I think the transfer rate, like 3-to-1, is not as important as downgrading them. Like, I was in agreement, like, oh, 3-to-1, that makes sense. Like, they would have to do that. They can't just give you, like, straight, like, oh, I got 15 gilded crests, like, just transfer those. And I think that almost makes it so that, like, you can never just transfer gilded crest. Like, it always has to be the one below gilded, which I don't even remember what it is. But I agree with you for the most part. I think the one thing that just hurts me is, like, I think of someone like DPS Timmy, right? That just got cutting edge, right? And he loves playing mage, right? And he's, literally just got cutting edge, right?
Yeah.
And now he's like, oh, like, I'm done playing mage for a little while. I'm gonna go over my warlock, right? I played my warlock all, and it's a little different now because, like, it's that gap from, like, 70 to 80 along with all those things. But, like, I'm thinking maybe even next season 2, where, there's not a lot of class changes. Say, like, you played your alt a lot, like, now you go to your alt, and WoW is basically like, here's some adventure gear that you can get to, like, 589, and maybe you can get invited to 2s. And it's like, that guy just got done with, like, cutting edge, and now he's here, like, trying to get into 2s. Yeah. And it's like, that's where I'm like I will firmly always believe that I think WoW is at its best when you can play the content that you like at the skill level you're able to on all your characters.
Sort of.
No, not sort of, bro. That is 100% correct.
No.
I would die on that hill.
It's not correct for you. It's not correct for you.
Why not?
Why don't you do anything higher than a 10?
On what?
Your Death Knight.
Because I don't want to.
Why?
Because I don't get loot for it.
Yeah, right. There's no value. There are two games at play with World of Warcraft. You have what has traditionally always been WoW, where it's part of the fun is powering up your character, right? Getting player power from it. That's part of it. And then part of what WoW is now, the second game that goes on is a lobby game, right? I sit in the lobby, I queue up for a match, and I go into the dungeon, right? And so you have those two things in it, and they battle each other, because one goes, okay, the fun is gaining power and getting rewarded for what you're doing.
Sure.
And then the other is, no, just put everybody at max gear right off the bat and let them just pound out keys all day long, right? And I think different people want different things, but you kind of have to balance both of them. So I think if you were to go like, hey, you should be able to do any difficulty at any time with any character.
If it's within your ability.
Within your ability, like Chicken, I don't think you would do that.
I'm not saying I would, but I think I should be able to.
But I think once that option's on the table, I think you would play significantly less.
You
got all your portals.
Don't think I would.
You're done.
Correct. On my DK.
right? Yeah, right. I think
That doesn't mean I wouldn't be done on like my monk or like my
yeah, but to do what?
It's sit in a queue for a +2 that I'm never going to get invited to because I'm only at 589
Well,
and I don't want to
dude.
do delves.
I don't know, dude. I was running like 4s at 565
as a tank. Dude, I sat in a queue as a healer.
Then
I queued up
join a
for like
guild. Join a guild. Make friends go run with you.
Dude, I'm literally on the WoW loading page. There is 6 people on right now.
That's more than enough for a group.
Well, not if we don't have a tank. Anyways,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm dead serious. I would be willing to die on that hill because I think there is a notion of the game where.
Do you think gearing alts should just not be a thing at all?
I don't think gearing alts shouldn't be a thing, but I do think that
like whatever eye level my main character is, my alt should be.
No. I don't.
Okay, so what are you arguing for?
I think that if I am able to get cutting edge,
okay,
that I should be able to start an alt at least minimum raid or mythic boss 1. Like, I don't think I should just be able to say, oh, I got cutting edge, so now I can do Ansurrect on my monk or like my alt. I think if I hit a certain achievement, I should be able to at least get gear equivalent to being able to start that achievement on a different character. So like, maybe I have access to hero track gear, right?
Yeah.
If I can get cutting edge. And I think that's where it is. And I think that's the biggest thing that just irks me is the fact that like when I want to do an alt, I get stuck with veteran gear that's rank 1. And now I have to go do like questing or I have to do something else or delves that I don't really want to do just to be able to get into like some 3s or 4s or 5s that like I feel like I'm pretty clearly capable of doing. That's what I'm trying to get at. I'm not saying like, hey, I did Ansurrect, I should be able to do Ansurrect on my alt, like, right?
Okay.
Like that's different.
Yeah. Okay, so you're saying,
but like,
in my mind, I think maybe you are. I could be wrong, but in my mind, I wasn't thinking raid, right? I'm thinking dungeons, right?
Oh, like Mythic Plus, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That you go, okay, I run 10s on my main character.
Yeah.
My alt should be able to run 10s. Right off the bat, right? I walk in geared to run 10s on my alt.
Not necessarily. I think if I do 10s, I should be able to like get geared enough to be able to do at least like a 6 or a 7, right?
Yeah. And by the way, though, to be honest with you, if I'm being honest, man,
sure.
I think this sounds like a Band-Aid that ignores the actual problem, right? So like like the real problem is that it feels like it takes way too long to get into content at a low eye level. That's not even content that you want to necessarily be doing that much of.
Sure.
Right? And so it comes back to like, can they fix that tank problem? Can they fix the grouping problem? If they can fix the grouping problem, this goes out the window, right? Because all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's easy for me to get into a bunch of keys and work my way back up. But it also depends on the question, right? Is the listener asking the question of like, hey, dude, I just want to be able to jump into 10s? Or is the listener going like, dude, no, I want like basically maxed out gear as quickly as possible. And that's where I think the crest being transferred down a rank, makes that feel a little bit more balanced. What I don't want is let's say right, Mage Johnny, did you call him, or Timmy? Was it Mage Timmy?
DPS Timmy.
DPS Timmy, right? DPS Timmy to be running his mage through M+ like crazy, right? Racking up wild crests and then just funneling those crests to his alt, right? And just going, it's easier for me to get them on my main, so I'm just gonna go get them on my main and then funnel them over, right? So it has to be inconvenient to do that, but still beneficial to some regard, right? So I think the downgrade of crests and probably getting less, right? So not getting an equal amount of crests.
Oh yeah.
So at minimum or maximum, I guess at maximum half, right?
Maybe like a 2-to-1 ratio,
right, or like a 1/3, maybe like a 1/3 ratio but lowered as well. And so you're going, hey, you know
Yeah.
what? I have this. I'm not using it. There's still value to it. Because I think what people really dislike too is looking in their bag and be like, oh yeah, I have all this, and like I can't do anything with it. It's just gonna sit there. So I think that's an issue. It's something I've heard a lot of pro players talk about, right? Again, like, hey, I wish I could just play on tournament servers where you just get max gear all the time, right? Because all I want to do is try a different class and just go pump 20s.
Mm-hmm.
But it's it's different. One of these days, Carb's gonna ask a question, and I'm gonna just right off the bat be like, "That's a great idea. Do it. Make it happen." But no, it is a good question though, because you have the resource. Like, what do you do with it if it's just sitting there? And especially if it's a resource that's sitting in your bag, you're looking at it, you go, I can't use this, and yet I desperately need more on another character.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, last question. Yeah. Wait, were you gonna say?
No, I agree. I think. Yeah.
Or hear me out. I'll also be content if you let me just trade. Dude, let me just trade extra gilded crests for gold, like good amounts of gold, not like lame gold, but like why the heck? Listen, dude, listen, man. They need to up how much money you make off dungeons. I'm sorry. Why does money come from all the lame things to do? Why can't money come from the fun things?
Oh my gosh. You sound like one of our other guildies that's just like, I'm just going to buy everything.
Oh, yeah, dude. Listen, man.
With like real dollars, right?
I'm here to have fun playing WoW. If I have to work, then let me just go work my actual job. I'll make way more gold per hour working my actual job than I will farming. And you know what? I'll dislike it less. I enjoy my actual job more than I enjoy mining nodes in World of Warcraft. So
this guy.
Listen, I'm sorry, but it's true. Let me just make gold running keys, right? Like the higher the key, the more gold you get. I don't know. Let me please, just let me do it. Or even just like, I don't know, even just give mats or something from dungeons. I don't know, like do something. But anyways, that would be cool though if it's like, oh hey, once you use up all your gilded crests, you can just start selling them. But we have one more question coming from Glocks as well. And he says, why will Blood DK be the new meta tank? I'm assuming, Chicken, that this question was kind of a meme, knowing that both you and I play Blood DK.
Probably.
I hate to say it. It looks like at this time, it looks like Vengeance is going to be the new meta tank. I wish Blood was meta next season. I really do. But the tier sets kind of look eh. They kind of look eh for tanks next season. I like the tier sets across the board. Just they look eh for tanks. However, Vengeance gets meta off their tier set, which is busted good. So right now, Vengeance is looking really, really good next season. That's probably going to be meta. I could see, again, Vengeance was supposed to be meta season 1, so I wouldn't be surprised because Blizzard did work so hard to rein it back. I wouldn't be surprised if they made sure it wasn't meta again this next season, just because I think it was meta for such a long period. Or even even if it wasn't meta, it was still close to top for such a long period of Dragonflight.
Yeah, that's true.
That I wouldn't be surprised if they came back and like, hey, you know what? It still needs some time.
Hey, whoops.
But Blood DK, Brewmaster is another one. They didn't really receive much change. I'm hoping Brew gets a change soon. That whole spec needs some solid work being done. I'm enjoying it. There's a lot of stuff I really find fun about it, but there's a lot of just oddities. There's a lot of oddities to that spec. Blood DK though isn't really being touched. So, however Blood DK plays now is probably gonna be pretty similar to how Blood DK will play next season, except you'll be randomly proccing Frostbound Fortitude. So that'll happen. That'll happen sometimes, I guess. I don't know. With a little damage. With a little damage. I don't know, dude. Nobody's asking for randomly proc defensives. I'm sorry. Nobody wanted that.
My tanks need to be tankier.
Nobody wanted that. Nobody wanted that.
Dude, that's 100% their like fix. The tanks need to be tankier. They're just like, we're going to give you defensives.
You know what's going to happen? It's going to proc whenever I don't need it.
You're going to have like one like little Murloc left in your trash pack, and it's going to proc like 3 times.
Yeah, it's going to proc right after the tank buster hits, right?
Yeah,
like
right.
It's going to proc as I go into purgatory. And I'm like, okay. Like, I don't know. What do you want me to do about this? So, I don't know. The nice thing is it does give you a little damage bonus, which will be okay. But
yeah,
Dude, but again though, if it procs like dancing rune weapon, listen, listen, dude, I'll always take it. I don't care how many enemies I have. I'll always take a free dancing rune weapon. That thing is goated, dude. Proc a dancing rune weapon while I have dancing rune weapon. Just give me more.
Mm-hmm.
Parry everything, okay? But yeah, no, Blood DK is sadly not gonna be meta next season.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Mm-mm.
I wish.
Me too. It would be
That'd be cute.
But that looks like
sure.
everything that we have topically to talk about today. So that's good. One more thing as we're already over time, right? Might as well. We're already over time, chicken. It can't stop us now, dude.
True.
We're very over time. So
really,
listen up, dude. I'm the promo. I'm gonna put some promo out there. I don't even feel bad, dude. I don't even feel bad. I'm a promo. Listen. Our guild right now is looking for raiders next season. We're an AOTC push guild. If you're interested, pop in our Discord or pop in the Discord link below for Swaglock's Warband, and let us know. We can get you in there if you're interested. Connect you with our raid leader. But looking for some fresh blood, we raid for AOTC and Heroic, as well as we organize a lot of Mythic Plus groups. We do like transmog runs. Honestly, across the gambit, it's a very just social, casual, kind of casual-y-ish, but not super casual guild. That's a lot of fun doing stuff together. But we especially healers. Any healers out there? Please. Anyways, though, you can also keep in touch with us just hanging out in Discord. You can ask questions on our Discord as well. And you can find me, Swaglock, on Twitch. All those links are in the description below. And Chicken has one more thing he wants to say before we wrap up the podcast.
Go Birds!